So I'm Mary Ellen Wilson, and I am the tech coach at Hillsborough Middle School and at Alton Road Intermediate School. And you are on here right now to learn a little bit about how to use Hangouts Meet. And I asked my friend and colleague Karen Randazzo to jump on and help out with this because she uses this already with her students. So she's going to kind of talk us through what she's already doing, how she's using it, and we're just going to give you a quick little demo on how to use Google Meet should you choose to use this with your students in the virtual learning environment next week. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Karen, and we will get started.
Thanks. So hi guys, I'm Karen Randazzo. I'm a chemistry teacher at the high school. I'm going to run you through some basic ways that you can use Google Meet. Now, typically I use it in my class for online review sessions, but if you have any pre-made PowerPoint presentations and things that you want to show the kids, this is a great option because besides you being on the screen on a whiteboard working, you can also share your screen if you have a PowerPoint up. So I'm going to share my screen right now. So I'm going to click present and I'll show you guys how to do this. Okay, so you guys should be able to see my screen in a second here. Okay, so I'm going to open this incognito window here and show you how to access Google Meet. Mary Ellen, you can see my screen, right?
Yep, you're all good.
So in order to go to Google Meet, you're going to go to meet.google.com. And then you are going to join or start a meeting. You can give this a specific name. So for me, I'm envisioning that my students will log on every day at the same time according to their class period. So I would have 4 different class names here, but since you guys are in the class today, I'll just write sample as our class name. You could, of course, leave it blank as well. And then once you click join, you do need, if you're using Google Meet for the first time, you will need to allow access to your camera and your microphone. So you'll just click allow. And then you can see it hasn't put me yet in the Google Meet just yet. So you have a couple choices here. You can turn off your camera and your microphone before you go into the session. So like if you're kind of in the middle of something and you want to go in, but maybe you don't want the kids to see or hear you, you can do that. You can also be at the point where like the first thing the kid sees is your presentation on the screen. But since we're all here, since I'm on screen now, I'll just show you. So you click join now. And when you click join now, it'll bring up your joining info. So this is the information that you're going to deliver to the kids. It's really your choice as far as how you want to give the information to the kids. If you have Google Classroom, obviously email works, slides, you can access it just by clicking copy joining info. But like I said, it's really up to you how you want to share it. You can also use the same link repeatedly. So for example, if you wanted to meet, your period 2 chemistry class every day at the same time, you would be able to use the same exact link every single time as you know, because I feel like it might be a little overwhelming to start a new meet every time, but it's really up to you. And it allows your students to know what the link is and they could bookmark it if needed. So I'll get rid of this. You can add the students yourselves. However, I find it's easier just to share the information with them. So I'm going to get out of here. So this is what my screen would look like. Now I will show you a few things. Mary Ellen was showing you guys, or was telling you that she's recording the meeting. You do have to tell your participants that you're recording the meeting. And then you might want to check to see if your students have photo releases on file, because you're not really supposed to have pictures and videos of them unless they have that on file.
Yeah, and that information can be found in Genesis. So if you look at your roster in Genesis, you'll see a little icon next to your students. It looks like a little television screen, or it's a Polaroid picture. That's how you know that they have media release.
Thanks. Yeah, that's right. I forgot you have a little icon.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you need to access the link again, as far as like to get your kids in, you can go to this little spot in the lower right, left-hand corner, and that gives you again the joining information. And then I'm just going to kind of move around the screen here. So let me see what I got here. I'm just making it, I'm going to hide that. Okay. You can mute yourselves by clicking that button. The middle button is the hang up button. That's how you leave the call. This is how you turn off your camera. So if I turn it off, that's what your students will see. You'll see your avatar. You can also have the option of turning on closed captioning. As I'm going to talk a little bit so that you can see how it works, but if you have students that are hearing impaired, you might want to consider using this. Your students, I also believe, have the opportunity to turn it on for them if you
Yes.
decide not to turn it on. Okay.
Exactly.
All right,
Yeah. So you have to, your students would actually have to turn that on for themselves in order to be able to see it.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn this off because I think it might be a little crazy. Okay. The present now button is for you to present your screen. So I do have so you have an option of doing your entire screen, or you have the option of doing a window. It's completely up to you. I'm going to do a window because I think I have a PowerPoint up. Let me check. Nope, I don't. Never mind. But if you had a PowerPoint up or something like that, you would be able to click present now and you'd be able to show what is on there. These three buttons over here, this is how Mary Ellen is recording the meeting. You would just click that. This is really cool because not only do you get a recording, like a video, it's sent to your Gmail account. It's saved into your Google Drive, but you also get a transcript of the chat. So you won't have any issues with like whether or not your students were attending. So you can get them to check in. You'll have a record of all of that. You can also change the layout. So I'm on auto, but you can change it depending on your needs. Let's see. You can make it full screen. We talked about the captions, and that's pretty much it for that part. I do want to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the norms. So with my students, whenever I do online review sessions, I require that the students turn off their cameras and they turn off their mics. I find that there's like a lot of background noise if the kids are all trying to talk at once, especially if you've got like 24 kids in a class. That's a lot. So my recommendation would be to require them to do that. And I usually, whenever I send them the link to our Google Meet for our online review sessions, I'll put that in email and just remind them of that norm. But it's up to you. I mean, you obviously want to make sure that you're comfortable. I don't feel comfortable with kids being on camera, so like with me. So I just say no, and I usually tell them I'm the only one talking so they can all hear me. Like Mary Ellen said earlier, I have the students communicate only with me through chat usually. So for example, and sometimes the toolbars can be a little crazy, but you can see this one down below you can access. But if you want to access the chat, you would have to click on the chat box there. Kind of looks like a piece of paper with writing on it, and you can see who's in there. You can also see the different students' screens if you wanted them to present. You can also mute students. And actually, I think, Mary Ellen, you want me to show them how to do that, right?
Yeah, you can show
Okay.
them if you go back to our meet that we're in.
Yeah, so now I think we're in hours.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, there's 18 people here. Hi, guys. Yeah. So if I wanted to mute somebody, I'm going to mute my friend Mary Ellen here. You would click on the person's name, and then you can see you have some options. You can pin her to the top if you want it. Like if you were the teacher, you would pin her, but to mute, you would just click the mute button, and then you would click mute. Not that you would need to, but if you would need to remove somebody, that's the button that you would click to remove somebody. And then she can unmute herself. Okay, so then I think let me see, is there anything else that I missed?
No, I think this looks good.
Okay.
If you want to stop presenting just in case I want to jump on and present anything, that would be great.
I will do that right now. There we go.
Perfect. Okay, so I just want to present Google Meet as an alternative to screencasting. So even though we have this Google Meet and there are now 16 people in here, you can run a Google Meet and you can record a Google Meet even if nobody's in there with you. So if you did want to present a lesson and you're not comfortable with Screencastify or another kind of screencasting option, do consider Google Meet as an option because like Karen said before, when you do the recording, it will save that file right to your Google Drive, and then you can push that out to your students. You can share it to them. You can send it through Hapara. You can put the link on your Google Classroom, however you normally give the information to your students currently, you can do that with this file once it has been once it's been there. This is great because if you've noticed, Screencastify has a 5-minute limit for recordings, and so this will obviously give you a lot more time if you do need to do that. And like Karen said, you can present your screen, you can put put the PowerPoint and everything, or Google slide presentation, whatever you're talking about, you can do it right on your screen. Karen, when you were presenting, did you show them how to find the meeting details once they were off the screen?
I did,
Okay,
but you
perfect.
can
I was
absolutely do
helping
it.
over in chat, so.
No worries.
But so this was our little refresher here on Hangouts Meet. If you have any further questions, you can put them in chat. I saw somebody said, can a student unmute themselves? Yes, you are the only person who can unmute yourself. So if I, as the teacher, muted a student, only that student could unmute themselves. So do keep that in mind if you do mute a student. And if they inadvertently mute you, accidentally on purpose, you can unmute yourself. Just make sure that you, know that you're being muted. To show your screen, doesn't it need to be the one showing? It did not show all of my tabs. So Kim, you may have just done a window as opposed to your entire screen. So if you go to the present now option, you see you have two options, your entire screen versus a window. I would just be safe and just do your entire screen. This way, in case you have to move tabs, you can, and you wouldn't wind up talking on the wrong slide. The other thing I did want to talk about, and I'm going to present really quickly, just so that you guys can see what I'm saying, is when Karen was talking about how you can mute a student, you may have also noticed this pin icon that was there. So it is possible that your students will pin your video screen to what's visible on here. But if you then present your screen to the students, they will not see it because they will have your video pinned. So if anybody says, I can't see your screen, just make sure that they unpin you, and then they'll see whatever screen you're presenting. And when it comes to how the cameras are flipping back and forth, you might notice that, like when Karen was talking, she was visible. Now that I'm talking, I'm visible. That is how Hangouts Meet will work. Whoever is talking or whoever's the loudest will be on front. That's why we want to make sure that the students join muted and talk through the chat feature so it doesn't wind up bopping between all their different windows. Okay? So again, these webinars are going to be recorded. We will get them up on the knowledge base as soon as we possibly can, but please do remember that there are resources available for you on the knowledge base. So if you go to kb.htps.us, we have our Teach from Anywhere resources. On the left-hand side, you can see all of the resources that we've been talking about, and each one of them has a video underneath it. They're short, 2 or 3 minute how-to videos. You can watch a whole Google Meet, you can stop it, you can play along, whatever you need to do in order to get comfortable with Google Meet. All right, and your tech support, your computer support teachers, were just an email away. So if anything goes wrong, just let us know.